those who were here earlier, I'm sorry, you're going to have to hear the infomercial again. For those who were not here earlier, hi, my name is Laura Gonzalez, and the first order of business is to give thanks to, we give thanks to the air that carry our voice and clears our mind. We give thanks to the earth that carry us through and feed us. We give thanks to the fire from the sun that keeps us warm and happy. And we give thanks to the water within us that gives us our emotions and life. I like to acknowledge the people that were here before us. We give thanks to the people, to my understanding, the Potawatomi, the Menominee, and the Miami. We are on their land, and we like to honor them for we are standing where they stood before us. I also like to give thanks to the people of my land. I'm originally from Mexico City, so thank you to the Mexica Tenochca people. And thank you to all the people that are here. Some of us on the melting pot and some of us on the fire. Earlier, I was telling the people on the class that my classes are not intended to be to give you all any kind of white guilt, or I'm not pointing out privilege just for pointing sake. It's an educational moment. So we were talking about United States being a melting pot in which black and brown folk have been the fire and not the pot. So eventually, we're gonna work our way into the pot and stop being the fire. But anyway, to start lightly. So my name is Laura Gonzalez. I'm a minister with Circle Sanctuary. I'm a priestess of the goddess, and I've been a pagan most of my life. I've been a witch most of my life. I market myself, yes, market literally as a witch for hire. I do cleansings and healings and blessings and Reiki and energy work and crystal therapy and all kinds of stuff. And if you don't hear that I do something that you need, ask me, chances are I do it. And if I don't do it, I can point you into somebody that can do it. I grew up in Mexico City. I was born into the native ways of our people. And even though a lot of our culture was stolen by the colonizers, um, a lot of us don't know our tribes, a lot of us don't know our language, but by golly gee, we know our magic because they couldn't take our spirituality away from us. So we do know that. And I continue my studies in the United States. I'm a priestess of the goddess, and I have also learned native ways in the United States, both from Mexico and from indigenous people of the United States, geopolitical United States. Um, I'm also a podcaster. For those who like podcasts, I do a podcast that is called Lunatic Mondays. Lunes Lunaticos is a bilingual podcast that airs every Monday on the Circle Sanctuary Network podcast. And I also produce and sometimes are part of a podcast called Paganos del Mundo, or Pagans of the World. And we have a team of people on that podcast, people from Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, Spain, and United States. And the podcasts are on Spanish and Portuguese. So if you speak Spanish or know anyone that speaks Spanish and Portuguese, send them to Paganos del Mundo, please. I am a teacher and I teach multilingually about native cultures, spirituality, paganism, etc. Nationally and internationally on online. You go everywhere. I've been there teaching. And I also do the coffee break videos that air Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on my page, Hero by Laura Gonzalez. They are free and they're at noon ish. Sometimes I don't wake up on time, so I start at 12 or 5 or whatever, but it's usually at 12 o'clock on Facebook, Tarot by Laura. I do tarot readings, oracle readings, and learning the card of the week. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Those are free for you all to see and attend. And I also do a video blog that is called Mystic Chat with Chris Allen and Aaron Marsh. And we kind of have waited a couple of months. We just haven't done it because we've been busy. But we're going to continue and start again in October. So you can check that out on Facebook or on YouTube on the page by Chris Allen. And for those who probably don't know me, I'm everywhere. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on my website, and you can find me there for workshops, information, fair readings, etc. Um, and that's all the infomercial. It is a whole 5 minutes. Thank you. So, we're going to talk about Mexican folk magic. And let me tell you, first of all, I'm not going to teach you any Mexican folk magic. I'm going to talk about the history of Mexican folk magic. If you were here to learn Mexican folk magic, now that you hear me, I'm not teaching it. If you need to leave, I'm not going to be offended. I'm not going to get mad. If you need to leave, you're free to go. But what we're going to talk more about is the history of Mexican folk magic, why it is important, and where does it come from, what it is, right? Um, I like to make a distinction, and it's very important that we learn the differences. Mexican folk magic is an amalgamation of indigenous practices, the Catholic religion that came with the colonizers, and in the United States, it's also an amalgamation with the diaspora of some other magical traditions by people of color. Indigenous practices, even though they look, sound, and feel like paganism, they are not paganism. I take the extra minute to tell you all that because I have been at international conventions talking to people about indigenous practices being indigenous practices and having colonizers from Europe saying, but I'm comfortable calling them pagan. Yeah, but we're not, because there is a heavy, heavy historical weight on calling indigenous people pagan. I, a Mexican, indigenous, witch, bruja, pagan, I'm okay because I identify as pagan. First of all, I identify as a witch, then an indigenous woman, then a pagan woman, then fill all the labels that you will. But people who are indigenous, even though the practices are nature based, they don't like to be called pagan. So it's really important that we learn that. So that's the first disclaimer. There might be more later. So, why I'm going to take you on a journey through time. We're going to go from the so called Aztecs and their practices to today's folk magic to the magic of the diaspora. Who here is Mexican, Mexican American, or from Mexican descent? Okay, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. The majority. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is something that I struggle with for the last 25 years. You're gonna hear a lot of repeating things. I'm sorry. On August 12th, 2023, I will be 25 years and 1 day in Chicago, which will be 1 day more than what I live in Mexico. So I can finally say I'm from Chicago. And the thing is, it's really hard for an immigrant. I'm a Mexican from Mexico, you know, it's a thing, because there are Mexicans from Mexico, then they're Mexican Americans, then they're second, third, fourth, fifth generation, right? Us from Mexico, I struggle to say, see how I'm blatant to say it? We are part of the diaspora. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts to say that I'm part of the diaspora, but that is the truth. I am no longer in Mexico. The Mexico that I left doesn't exist anymore. It's 25 years in the past, and it's a capsule on my brain, but it doesn't exist anymore. So, as we are immigrants, again, somebody explained to me how native people from this land are immigrants. But as we are immigrants geopolitically, we are part of the diaspora. So we carry a different flavor and different tonalities. It's already on. I got you,
I just
babe.
wanted to make sure.
Uh, we have our own flavor of magic, and we bring our own knowledge, and it's different. It's different from what it is in Mexico. So I'm gonna take you back to before the colonizers, before contact. The people in Mexico were very attuned with nature. They knew their herbs, they knew their magic, they knew their healing, they knew the things they had to do to be healthy. They had traditions of healing, of movement, of meditation, of conservation, and they all knew a little something, right? Um, right there in the back. What is something that you're knowledgeable? You know, I'm looking at you on your right. Okay. What is something that no, you, yeah. Tell me something that you're knowledgeable about. Something that you know that you think like I know this. Magic, spirituality, practices, witchcraft. No pressure. Could be anything. But there's something you like and you do. Okay. All right. All right. You. What is something that you feel that you're knowledgeable? Cool. How about you?
I'm a academic, so I'm knowledgeable on things of regarding nature.
Nice. Hence listening.
Yes.
How about you, Laura?
Yeah. Um, I like roadkill.
Nice.
I do a lot of dead stuff at home, and so I process my own bones every
So
now and
like
then. So yeah.
necromancy stuff?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I do tarot, right? That's kind of my thing. I do healing through tarot, through words, right? That's my thing. It's my healing is my voice. So think about now I know what you do, 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 and now you all know what I do, right? And then here comes the aliens to tell us, they tell you, you know what she does, what she does, what she does, that's bad. They shouldn't do it. So now you're gonna be afraid and you're gonna tell your friend or sibling, right? And then you're probably gonna tell the person behind you, like, hey, don't talk to them because they do magic, right? They do these things. And then you hear the rumors, so you move your chair 3 steps back, etc., right? That's what happened with the indigenous people of Mexico. All of the people of Mexico have knowledge of herbs, calendars, seasons, teas, water, food, etc., 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 right? And then when the colonizers came with their culture that is mainly about fear and guilt, they spread the rumor of she knows, she knows. I'm sorry if I'm using the wrong pronouns. Please forgive me if I am. They know, they know, they know. So now we know that they know, and we are told that it's bad. So now all of us walk around with guilt and fear. Thank you, colonizers. However, comma, they also brought the Catholic religion. I'm Mexican. Listen to me. I'm Mexican. I can make the joke. If you're Mexican, you can make the joke. If you're not Mexican, you can laugh, but you cannot make the joke. Agreed? Here's the joke. Mexico is the most pagan country in the world. Don't tell the Mexicans. They think they're Catholic.
Yeah. Born Catholic.
Why can I make this joke again? Because I'm Mexican. But because the Catholic traditions that were brought to Mexico were heavily, capital heavily, influenced by European paganism, by Indo European shamanic pagan practices. So you bring the Indo European shamanic pagan practices dressed as Catholicism. And then you have all these indigenous people where everybody knows that everybody knows that everybody knows a thing or two about healing. And then it's told that it's don't do it, hush hush, is bad, blah blah. So everybody does it on the download. And even those who don't think that they are magical, they are magical. Yes, I'm looking at you. He's not laughing, but you know I'm looking at you. I'm looking at my friend Max over there in the back. Hi, honey. We all have magic, and we all know that we have magic because in Mexico it's a very common place. They say Mexican mama that respects herself knows at least how to pass the egg around. So that is the most folkloric piece of Mexican magic that we all know. And people could be as Catholic as you want, you know, devotional and hitting the chest every Sunday. They still gonna do the egg thing because that is part of our ancient traditions. So, what are the things that these indigenous Mexican people knew? Well, they knew about herbs. They did meditation. They have movement, uh, magic, kind of like Tai Chi, but you know, faster. Um, Lots of healing, healing on sweat lodges, healing, praying for healing, singing for healing. Um, they were very in tune with the earth and the sacredness of the earth. There's a lot of noise. I'm sorry, folks, but there's a lot of noise. Can you all still hear me well? I'm trying to project as much as I can. And they lived a life of sustainability, you know. So, question: what is the name? John. Oh my God, what is the name of the guy? I can't remember. Well, point being, this medieval European magical person, John Reed, I think. Yeah, I think it's John Reed. Um, who basically invented scrying. Am I? Do I have the right name? Anybody know? I think it's John Reed, but I cannot remember. Say it again. Yes, yes. So this John D, right? The D-E. Okay. So this guy is famously known for having invented scrying and having these wonderful scrying mirrors. And they were black obsidian mirrors, right? That in the 1600s, somehow Mr. John D in the middle of Europe had a black obsidian mirror and was doing scrying. It's been proven scientifically that that black obsidian mirror came from Mexico. So somehow, somewhere, the colonizers made sure that Mr. John D knew about the obsidian mirrors and did scrying. Because guess who did scrying? So he just was white and famous and made it famous. But actually, I'm not saying Mexicans invented scrying. I'm saying the act of looking at a black obsidian mirror is indigenous to Mexico. So to all my Mexican and Mexican American people who practice magic, witchcraft, or paganism, don't ever feel that you're doing something that you're not called into. Because we are magic. We don't have to learn magic. We are. Gilby, we are magic. It's us. It comes from us. You cannot take it away from us. Like death. They say, oh, why are Mexicans so? When death comes to you, humor me for a second. I do this on my Day of the Dead, but since you're here, why not? Touch your forehead. Can you feel your occipital bones? Now touch your cheekbones, and if you're Mexican, go to town because you have high cheekbones. And now feel your jaws, and now feel your teeth, right? And now feel the little hole where the cartilage for the nose. You know what that is? She don't come for you. She comes out of you. She dead. And I'm not talking about Santa Muerte, please don't be confused. I'm talking about death. I'm talking about Mictlantecuhtli. Ah, you cannot see her. I have her here, but stupid weather. Anyway, um, so we are magic, and I'm not saying only Mexican people are magic. All of us are. Each one of us in our native cultures have magic, have these indigenous practices that are infused with magic. So going back to the timeline, then come the colonizers, and they bring, Catholic tradition, Catholic religion, and they tell us, we have to do the thing and go pray and all that. And this is something wonderful. I'm sorry if I'm moving out of frame, but I have to do the mimic. I'm telling the video. So this is something very clever that our people did. Here comes the colonizers, right, with their whips, telling the Mexican people, we're gonna carry the statue of Jesus, and we're gonna go 5 blocks that way. So the indigenous people will carry the statue, and they will move. But we know, right? We know where is the sacred spot. And then they will move, and then they will put it down. And then the Spaniards will be like, hey, lazy, keep moving. We're going 5 blocks that way. And the indigenous people of Mexico will be like, the same don't want to move no more. Look, we can't pick it up. Because they knew that was the secret spot. So a lot of churches, that was the whole mimic. I'm sorry if I was out of frame. Can you see the? Am I in the thing? Thank you. Um, Again, this is recorded for them. No, none of you are recorded, just me. So the people in Mexico knew the sacred places, and they used the Mexican ingenuity. Because there is a say. Thank you. There is, unfortunately, because of stereotypes, there is a say where people say, "Oh, te mexicanearon." They con you. They con you Mexican way. They con you Mexican style. To all my Mexicans of the diaspora, to all my Mexican Americans, I want to invite you to recognize something. Nobody in the planet has the ingenuity that Mexicans have. They call us roaches because we will survive everything. Take that as a badge of honor because nobody has the ingenuity of Mexicans or the survivor skills that we have. We are smarter like a motherfucker, and that's why they want to keep us down. But we shall not be that. So, with that said, the indigenous people were smart enough to move the statues and suddenly put them down and say we cannot move anymore. The same don't want to move anymore. Those of you who are Mexican have ever heard that the statues wouldn't move? It's not that they wouldn't move, it's that the people will like You carry it, we cannot pick it up, and the mind is an amazing thing. And then they couldn't move the statues anymore. So a lot of the sacred places in Mexico that are dedicated to the Santo Niño de este and the Santa Julia y all the saints, they are sacred indigenous places. So, again, the mixture of two cultures. Then you have the offerings, las ofrendas, right? The offerings. And the offerings are not only for Day of the Dead. We have offerings of dance and chants, right? And if you are in touch with indigenous people from Mexico here in Chicago, if you don't know any shake a tree, one will fall. There's a lot of us who do indigenous traditional stuff or are related or know people that do it. And the offerings of dance and singing, floricanto they call it, the dance is the floor and the canto the singing. Um, it was offered to nature, right? It was an offering. We didn't have concept of gods and goddesses. What they say is the Aztec religion. Remember that it's a tale that is being told by the Spaniards, the colonizers. Our indigenous forces and what we believe on is bigger than gods and goddesses, right? And so this dance, this floricanto, this dance and sing was offered to nature and to the forces of nature. And then after the colonizers came, the whole Coatlicue, Tonatzin, Virgen of Guadalupe, the Virgin Mary, La Guadalupana, I'm sure you all know La Guadalupana. If you don't know La Guadalupana, as your local Mexican, if you don't have one, shake a tree, one will fall, and you will learn about La Guadalupana because she is the goddess of the Americas. There are not any pagan or indigenous goddesses more quintessentially native to the whole continent than the Virgin of Guadalupe. And I know a lot of pagans have a little bit of a allergic reaction to anything Catholic, but again, Mexican folk magic is filled with that. I myself used to look down on the Virgin of Guadalupe because I'm a pagan. I don't do the Catholic thing. Until somebody invited me to lick her skirt and look that underneath there is a goddess, Coatlicue, Tonatzin, the mother goddess, the mother earth, you know. So if you're pagan, if you're Mexican pagan, if you don't know what the hell you are, or you're attracted to the Virgin Mary, by all means do it. You know. A lot of people say Santa Muerte as well. You know the four magic words? This is the most powerful spell. You know it? Yes, no, maybe? You do you, boo. So if you are attracted to Santa Muerte and that's your thing and that's how you want to go into Mexican folk magic, do it. But please research, learn, and then do it. She is not an ancient goddess. She's not the goddess of Day of the Dead. And she's not ancient. She was created in the 80s and unfortunately has become an icon of Martella. What do you think?
I guess not so positive and harmonious energy.
I believe that it's an icon that was created to be inclusive, and at the beginning it was very inclusive. And unfortunately, after that, people who are not, say, in tune with nature and inclusivity took the icon, and God created man, and man returned the favor, right? So man created Santa Muerte, and Santa Muerte creates man, or whatever. And what's happening is this icon has a very bad reputation now. And a lot of people use it for not very positive um, reasons. And it's a very powerful icon. It is indeed very powerful. However, if you're not very familiar with Mexican folk magic, and let's put it this way, don't start there. Start elsewhere, and then work your way into. To be honest, when I see people appropriating Mexican culture and they want to appropriate Santa Muerte, I'm like, go for it. You
Yeah.
know, you know. I mean, you know what I'm saying. So after colonization, now we have all these saints and all this Catholic culture, right? So what happens is now amalgamation of indigenous culture and Catholic culture, and now you have indigenous people dancing to Tonatzin, to Tonatiu, to Huitzilopochtli, to all the saints with Catholic names, and a lot of people who don't like to research and go deep into things will say, oh, if you're a pagan and if you're Mexican pagan, you don't supposed to be doing that thing. And again, remember, you do you, boo. Nobody can tell you what your magic should look like. Not even I, not everybody, not anybody. Like, who the fuck am I? Sorry. Like I'm just suggesting don't start by Santa Muerte. I'm not telling you, don't do it. You do you, boo. And um, there is a huge tradition of offerings, not only the floricanto, not only the dance and singing, but now the little votives. Have you seen La Mano Cornuta, the Italian icon? Okay, well, if you go to Mexico and you go to churches and you see all the saints with their dresses and their capes, and they have little icons pinched into them. And these icons could be a hand, could be a head, could be a leg, could be a heart, and people use them on a way of very sympathetic magic to pray for healing. So, for example, I've been having pain on my neck, literally, for a couple of days. If there was a little icon with a head or a neck, and I go and I ask the Virgin of whatever, any Virgin in Mexico, pray to the Virgin, put the icon in her dress, and then ask for the miracle. That is Mexican folk magic. So now people are not only praying or offering danzas, floricanto, but they are also praying to these icons that are in sacred spaces because they knew what the sacred space was for. So in Mexico, I don't know if you ever seen this, but in Mexico we have like 20 different Jesus icons. So we have the sacred Jesus of the Sacred Heart, and then we have the Immaculate Birth Jesus, and then we have the Jesus of the Fire, and so on, so on. I don't know many. You know any? Neo Tocha, yeah, yeah. So there's a whole lot of different versions of the same Jesus that coincidentally match very well with their indigenous counterpart because again the people knew where to the saint don't want to move no more, right? So the places were done there. And something that is very important in case it's not clear yet, magic is not exclusive to paganism, right? Yes, we are here on Pagan Friday, and as I was saying earlier, I myself consider myself a witch, an indigenous woman, a pagan, a priestess. Well, more than anything, I'm a witch, right? And witchcraft is not exclusive to paganism. I have known of a person, um, Tali, you remember Tali, Max from the store? So Tali, a friend of mine, uh, is a Mexican witch, but she's not a pagan witch. Or I shouldn't know she's not a pagan. I don't know what kind of witch, but I know she don't practice paganism. And she was doing an offering for her father that had recently passed away. And a pagan person came to her and told her, "Why are you doing this offering? Are you even a witch?" Are you pagan? Yes, you guess it was a white man. To which I say to Tali and anybody else, being a witch is not exclusive of paganism. There are Catholic witches, there are Christian witches, there are Jewish witches, there are witches that are atheists. So magic is not exclusive of paganism. I know that most of you know, but I figure I'll let you remember that. Then we come into, okay, so from indigenous people that know a lot of stuff to now it's an amalgamation with the Catholic Church. And now we have all these superstitions. If you're Mexican, where do you put your purse? Do you put your purse on the floor?
Never.
Let me hear again that never sounded very good.
Never.
If you're a Mexican, you know that you don't put your purse on the floor, right? You also don't pass the salt by hand. If I need the salt shaker, you put it close to me on the table and then I grab it. Um, if I like your hair, please don't be touching people's hair, okay? That is a must. We all know. Don't be touching people. However, comma, if I like your hair a lot, don't be surprised if I ask you, can I please touch your hair? So I don't give you mal de ojos, so I don't give you eye. That works for everything that you covet. For example, I really like your skirt a lot. May I touch it?
You can touch my skirt.
So there's no ojo on the skirt. You know, that is how Mexican folk magic works. You know, all this rooted into superstitions, into fear, into tradition, and if you know a thing or two about magic and ritual, you know that ritual and magic is just about repetition. So if we have repeated time and time and time again, do you put your purse on the floor? Never. Why? Because that's why. Because there's no reason. Alas, there is a reason. Indigenous people used to carry a little morralito, I don't know how to say in English, like a little bag. And people will usually have their magical tools or their work tools on that little bag. And because your tools are sacred, yes, pick it up from the floor. Don't put it in the floor.
It's hanging on my. It's
Okay.
hanging. Yeah, no, it's on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes people see me putting my backpack on the floor and they're like, Laura, I'm like, but that's the backpack. Is the purse. Is the one with the money. That's the one that you don't want on the floor. Pagan people, Anglo American pagan people have told me, but you know, it's the earth. It's getting the energy from the earth. And I'm like, you do it. I'm good. I'm good. You know, I'm good because you will not make me put my purse on the floor. So indigenous people used to carry their tools on a bag. Your sacred tools. You don't put them on the floor. They're sacred. They're unique. That took your time, effort, money to obtain. So our indigenous people would never put their little morralito on the floor, their little bag, and that's where the tradition comes from. A lot of the wisdom that we Mexican Americans, people of color, have comes from ancient traditions. I know these things because I'm extremely attentive to detail, you know, and I like to know where things come from, and that's why I have this knowledge because I'm always asking like why you do this and where it come from and who started it and why they do it, you know. So where are we? We have 15 minutes. Oh my goodness, there's still so much. Oh, I have the name here, John D. Thank you anyway, but I have the name here. That's why you don't do bullet points if you know what you're going to talk about. Anyway, so now we're talking about healers, right? iconic healers of Mexico. Have you ever heard of magic mushrooms? I'm not asking if you've done magic mushrooms. That's none of my business. You do you, boo. But it was the Mexican Maria Sabina who died not too long ago, but 10 years maybe? No, more, like 20. I don't know. She used to say, if I pray, I'm going to pray to me. And she used to have a picture of Jesus and a picture of Maria Sabina, of herself. And she will pray to herself. And she will go to the mountain and pick the mushrooms and she will use them as medicine. And then the Beatles heard of it, literally the Beatles, and they went to Mexico, to La Sierra Mazateca, and they learned from Maria Sabina, and Maria Sabinita gave them, you know, she gave them the honguitos, she gave them the mushrooms. And boy, the songs are wonderful, aren't they? I mean, I'm a Beatle fan, I'm not gonna lie. It's great. However, they told all their friends. And then their friends told their friends. And now we're almost running out of mushrooms because, and now people are using the medicine like it's candy. Again, I'm not here to give you white guilt. I'm not here to preach in a way that is like, I'm just informing you. People are going to Real de Catorce, they're extracting the peyote, they're using it like it's candy, and that's not how you treat it. It's not sustainable, it's not respectful. The indigenous people of Mexico is asking the hippies to stop doing that because it takes 80 years, 80, for a full grown peyote plant to exist. And when they cut it, the indigenous people, when they cut it, they cut half of it. They don't take the whole plant. So, as I was saying on my earlier workshop, when you are told that a practice is closed, there's nothing against you for trying to practice it. It is because we're trying to preserve the thing. If it is a closed practice, observe it, enjoy it, admire it, and respect it. A lot of things are not a closed practice, like the peyote, like the ayahuasca. It's not a closed practice. Do it with indigenous people. Leave the resources to the indigenous people. And for the love of God, please promise me you're never going to go to a cacao ceremony here in Chicago. Because A, cacao ceremonies are not a thing, and B, they're done by white people at yoga places because appropriating one culture wasn't enough. Now they're appropriating two for the price of one. So going back to the plants, the sacred plants and the medicine is very knowledgeable. People of Mexico know that, and they shared. Unfortunately, sometimes we share a little too much, and then we are having this kind of problems. It's not regulated. The government can give two shits, and that's why we have all these problems. So my call is for y'all to be respectful, and if you want to partake on it, do it with a Mexican indigenous person. Kind of off topic, but on the same topic. If you want the Day of the Dead doll, don't buy the one from Mattel. Buy from an indigenous artisan. If you don't know your indigenous local artisans, let me know. I hook you up. If you don't have any local Mexicans, shake a tree. One is gonna fall. You are in Chicago. There are more Mexicans in Chicago now than there are Mexicans in California. We are more Mexicans here in Chicago now. So I promise you, you're gonna have a local Mexican. Sometimes we're undercover, you know. I've been asked, but you're from the United States, right? No, full blown Mexican. Mexican from Mexico, is a thing. So we also have Abuela Margarita, the grandmother Margarita. She died not too long ago. She died probably in 2021 or 2020, not COVID. She was just very, very elderly. And she also had that cultural idea of if I want to ask a favor to the divine, I'm going to ask myself. And she also had an altar with her photo, so that's our indigenous people. She was more like postmodern, new age, indigenous, but it still has the flavor, my friends. It still has the root of coming from Mexico. She left because she was more modern. She left a lot of video archives. So just look her up, Abuela Margarita or Grandmother Margarita, and she had a lot of knowledge to share. And then we go, Jesus, I'm running out of time. Then we have modern healers, right, such as moi, and there are other people of Mexican descent, Mexican Americans, that do it and do it for money because we are not in the times of exchange anymore. We Some people barter, I don't, but there are some healers that will barter, and good for them. Again, you do you boo. And we still have a lot of us an amalgamation of various systems. Like I said before, I am comfortable with being a pagan indigenous witch. There are other people who like just indigenous, and if that's the case, don't try to call them pagan. If they don't call themselves pagan, don't call them pagan. They might be a different kind of witch, different flavor. I want to move very quickly into immigration and the magic of the diaspora. Now, there are a lot of Mexican American people writing books, and there are a lot of Mexican people writing books about Mexican folk magic. As a matter of fact, there is one book by Miguel Enrique Gonzalez, something or another, Enrique Gonzalez, called Mexican Folk Magic, and another book by Enrique Gonzalez called The Flesh of God. He studied with Maria Sabina, and the book is in English. It's called The Flesh of God. So if you're interested in that, you can read that one. There is this guy, Oregon Wood Witch, the Oregon Wood Witch. I interview him on my podcast, and he is of the Mexican diaspora, Mexican American or Mexican German or something like that. And he also writes about Mexican folk magic, more into like psalms and using the Bible for healing and all that kind of stuff. Again, because Mexican folk magic is very infused with Catholic practices. We have some of our traditions that have been romanticized. Um, and they have been culturally appropriated. You know, case in point, the cacao ceremony. So again, if you're gonna do a thing like that, please go by the indigenous people. Don't go with Janet Smith that does it at the other place because she probably never been to Mexico. And let's do that. I'm losing my voice already. Darn it. Um, I like to talk very quickly about the Virgin of Guadalupe. Those who know me, especially you, Max, who know me for a long, long time, I used to look down into the Virgin of Guadalupe. I used to be like, I'm pagan. I don't do that thing. Take this with a grain of salt, believe me or not, you do you. I was doing a meditation for healing. And have you ever seen the mural on 18th Street where she's looking down into the immigrants? That very image popped into my head. And she looked at me in my head in my meditation. She looked at me, you know the look? You know the look that mom give you when she's tired of your shit? She looked at me that way. And she said these very words to me. I'm an immigrant too. She fucked me up. she really like, all right. Believe me, don't believe me. You don't have to believe me. This is something that I experienced, and I want to share with you. because it's time that we decolonize her as well, and we recognize that we are detribalized. The colonizers took our language, they took our culture, they took our women, they took the purity of our lineage, and they tried to take our faith. And Tonatsin had to hide. Who here is a mom? Is there anything you wouldn't do for your kids? Would you kill for your kids? She had to hide. She had to wear the clothes of the colonizers. She had to go into witness protection. So let's stop romanticizing. And for those of you who are here and are like in between pagan, Catholic, and she's ours. She's been ours. She is our Tonatsin. She's our sacred mother. And she's not a close practice. She is the goddess of the Americas. We don't have any other. We have Bridget and Isis and Hecate and Fortuna. They all come from Europe. That's nothing wrong with them. But goddesses of the Americas. And she looked at me with that face of I'm tired of your shit and say the very words in English. I'm an immigrant too. She's ours. Let's conserve the magic that we are, because remember that our existence is an act of resistance, rebellion, magic. Time has gone so quickly. Are there questions, comments, or complaints? I haven't. Thank you. 2 years ago, still 2 years ago, ask Max. He will not let me lie. 2 years ago, I was still looking down on people that go to see her. I mean, I am of the opinion, you know how people say, I work with this goddess, I work with that goddess? I am of the opinion, like, we work for them, not with them. And I knew very well to shut my mouth and don't say, I don't work with this goddess, because they don't give it. If they want you to work with them, they're going to come to you. So, Max, no. 2 years ago, I was still like, oh my God, the people that got the Guadalupe. And what did I do a month ago? I have one now. Because she came and told me, tired of your shit, like, we are immigrants. So, this is something I wrote. Let me see if it makes sense. The indomitable spirit and belief in natural forces and Catholic faith. Not all Mexican witches in USA or Mexico are pagan, but we're definitely magical. So don't forget that and learn from the people, learn from the source, go to the indigenous people. If you don't have one, if you don't have a local Mexican, I can lend you one or shake a tree, a couple will fall. And for my Mexican and Mexican American and Mexican diaspora and third, fourth, fifth, 20th generation Mexicans, let's keep existing, okay? And be in magic. Thank you. Oh my God, you flatter. No, I'm very egotistical. I love it. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being here. And I'm gonna go be doing readings over there if I still have any voice left. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Bye. Let's